Now, another individual who wants to be president is Asa Hutchinson. He's the former Republican governor of Arkansas. But if he wants to be president, you deserve to know his record. Asa Hutchinson probably supports some things that you like and agree with, and also some things that you may not agree with. Asa Hutchinson will have to address all of these concerns if he wants to be the Republican nominee. The former governor, Asa Hutchinson, joins me now, and hopefully we get some answers to your questions. Governor, thanks so much for joining me.
Lawrence, it is great to be with you. I'm in Iowa City, Iowa right now, and love this opportunity to talk about my candidacy, but also some of the issues that people are concerned about.
Well, Governor, let's get straight to it, because if you know me and you watch my work, I travel all across the country and I talk to voters, diners, middle America, urban America. And Governor, I haven't found out one person that says they want Asa Hutchinson to be the president of the United States. So why are you running?
Well, you know, because there are people out there that would like to see me run for president, but there is certainly a gap between myself and Donald Trump, who's right now leading the ticket on the Republican side. But that's why you have campaigns. That's why you have choices. That's why I'm able to talk about the economy, my experience in law enforcement. There's no one that has more experience in law enforcement than me in terms of dealing with our border security issues and dealing with crime. And I know that you've been to Portland, Oregon. Whenever we see crime in the streets, it might be helpful to have somebody who's been a federal prosecutor who understands the rule of law.
Well, sir,
I've been head of the DEA.
Look, sir, I think your Republican accomplishments on many of the issues are right along with the conservative model. You seem like the typical Republican. But since you're running in a Republican primary, there are some things that separate you from the other candidates, like your support of the Ukraine war. I looked at some polling data from Axios, and about 42% of Republicans support the funding to the. Why are you supporting more funding?
Well, I'm supporting our funding of the fight in Ukraine because if we show weakness there, then you're going to have our aggressors take more significant action like China toward Taiwan, but Russia will not stop at Ukraine. And so there is a national interest in our support of Ukraine. And yes, this is a big debate in the Republican Party. You've got the isolationist wing, and you've got those that believe that America needs to lead.
I don't think it's about that, though, sir.
And I think that our support of Ukraine is important.
What your voters are saying, the Republican voters are saying, where do you stop it at? Do we go to Africa? Do we go to Latin America? What is the red line for you?
Well, you don't need to draw a red line. You need to support those that are being oppressed against the oppressor. And right now, that is Ukraine. Now, hopefully we can stop it there. Hopefully that Ukraine, as they have stood up very bravely, will have the continued support of the Western world to fight against aggression. To me, that is the best instincts of Americans, but also our history.
Does Taiwan count?
Is very important. It counts in many different ways. One, they're an independent country, and they're threatened by China. And
so we go to war with China,
country.
Then.
They have their independence. Lawrence, I didn't say that, and I would not advocate that.
That's the destination, and I think that's what some of Republicans are afraid of. When I ask what is the red line, is because there are many people that want to invade other countries. When Americans say that our issues matter first, will you listen to your voters? I understand that you have a position, but the Republicans have spoken in all of the polling data, and they don't support this. They supported it initially, and now they want to pull back on it. So is that something that you're willing to change to gain their vote?
Well, the answer is no, and I don't sense that belief among the Republican base that I talk to. I think there's broad support for our efforts in Ukraine, but also they don't want a prolonged war, and this administration, the Biden administration, has been slow in delivering the support that's needed. It's slow walk. We need to get it to them so that they can actually
Governor,
win.
And I appreciate you coming on with me, but I only have so much time. I want to go to another issue that you're in contrast with Republican voters. You support puberty blockers, and 72% of Republicans are against that. So we saw that you vetoed a bill back when you were governor. Is this something that you have changed on, or do you keep your position there?
Well, I don't support puberty blockers, as you said. I actually support the decision-making of parents. I vetoed a bill because
And if they support puberty blockers, then you support those parents, right?
Well, Lawrence, as I said, this bill went too far. It was extreme in my judgment. There's been other bills that come up that have been more balanced that are appropriate. But it's really a matter of, are we going to support parents if it's not a life-threatening issue? And
sir, respectfully,
that was the difficult decision that I had to make.
I'm sorry, Governor, because you're in a Republican primary. That may be the opinion of independents. That may be the opinion of Democrats. That may be even, I got a lot of friends in the Libertarian Party. They may welcome you in. But when you have Republicans saying this is a fundamental issue for them, how do you square that in a Republican primary? Some may say that's why you're polling lower than 1% in the RCP average.
Lawrence, this is an important issue, and the debate among Republicans should simply be, what is the role of the state? It's to protect life. We have the #1 pro-life state in the nation in Arkansas. Whenever I banned biological males from competing in women's sports, those are important decisions that the role of the state is critical. But it's always fair.
Look, I got you, Governor. I see the position that you're making. When it comes to women's sports, that's an easy position. Independents, a lot of Democrats agree that shouldn't be happening. I want you to listen to this young man, and I want to ask you a question after this. Watch this.
What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only 2 genders. Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights? I don't complain when I see pride flags and diversity posters hung throughout the school. Do you know why? Because others have a right to their beliefs just as I do. Why do the rules apply to one yet not another? I feel like these adults were telling me that it wasn't okay for me to have an opposing view. Their arguments were weak.
Sir, what do you say to that young man? Do you believe that there's 2 genders?
I believe that there's 2 genders. God created 2 genders. I believe in that. I couldn't hear everything that was said there, but I was just with so young Republicans at University of Iowa today, and it's important to have debate. It's important to have free speech on these campuses and that conservative voices can be heard. That's what is important. And it's important for us to have a debate among Republicans on the role of the state. That's fair.
That is spin. The Republicans have said what their position is. I understand that you are for free speech and all these other issues. And like I said, respectfully, sir, I understand that you're for economic freedom and all that. Those are the typical Republican positions. And that would work back in 2008 or even 2006. But there's a different Republican Party now. And when I ask you the question, why are you running, it seems like you're opposed to all of the things that the modern day Republican Party stands for. What do you say to that?
Well, I disagree with that. I lowered taxes in Arkansas. That's a Republican position.
Typical Republican
I created surpluses.
Most Republicans have that
Lawrence, you've got to listen to me as well. You've got to listen as well. We balance the budget. That's what Republicans do. We lead in this country on conservative principles, and whenever you're looking at our values, I stand second to none in terms of fighting for pro-life values and conservative values. Look at my record, Lawrence,
Governor,
and you'll see that.
I just went through your record here, and as I said, and I gave you credit, for the normal Republican positions, you're right in line. But this is a new Republican Party. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.